Hello, check, check, test. Oops. 1, 2. Buckled my shoe. 3, 4. Close the door. Something like that. Let's see. Yeah, we got audio. Okay, it looks like we're good. Hey, everybody. Good evening. Tuesday night. And we're all back here at 7 Mountain Time. Having a nice pre-chat here with folks that were in a little early. Gear Dot is in. And then also Tom Downey's home, safe and sound. Greg Graybird's in. Yeah, Quasi Keyboard. We'll chat here for just a minute while we kind of wait for things to pick up. I got a new keyboard. This is my old one. I changed back because I was trying to type earlier, and I just got it today. Well, it must have came last week. I was gone. But anyway, here's my old one. I have had a Microsoft Natural Keyboard since sometime in the 2000s, early 2000s. I sat at a keyboard a lot, and ended up having to, I was doing a lot of typing, and I was getting the carpal tunnel pretty bad. So I ended up with a natural keyboard, and it made all the difference in the world. So I've had this for a very long time, and I'm very used to it. And then I got this new one. And although it looks to be about the same, it's not. And the keys are closer together, they're smaller, and I am struggling with this new keyboard. Okay, first world problems, right? This one still works. The L key is a little bit sticky, which happens to be one of the main keys you're using when you're editing videos, at least if you're doing it with keyboard shortcuts. And that's kind of the way I do it. But anyway, so we're back to that. I had a nice trip away. I was up in the mountains, cross-country skied into a friend of mine's cabin, and spent almost 5 days out in the sticks, up in the Island Park area, which is north of here about 90 miles, just outside of Yellowstone, Yellowstone National Park. And I got there without a camera. Can you believe it? I left, I left my pack with all my cameras, even my cell phone in it, in his truck, and his wife took us up there and dropped us off, so it all ended up back in Idaho Falls where he lives. So anyway, I don't have one damn picture to show you, but I did do some fly tying. I taught him how to tie flies, spent some time doing that, so I thought I'd show you just a little sample. These are all foam bodies. They're called foam bodies. They're tied with foam. Also known as a Chernobyl ant. I'll give you kind of a close-up here. That's a number 4. These are actually fall flies, but I always try to, when I teach people how to tie flies, I try to teach them on an easy fly. This is really easy to tie, and you'll make you'll make all kind of variations in different colors. That one's called a humpy. And it's just because it's got a little bit of fur on it here. Okay. So, and then we tied up some more late summer fall flies, grasshoppers. And so here would be an example of a grasshopper that we were tying. This is a it's a parachute grasshopper, but I think it looks pretty real. And then you can do grasshoppers out of deer hair. And so, we did a bunch of these fat body. They look like grasshoppers, and they work pretty good. And then, of course, you can buy these kits, these grasshopper kits that have a foam body with eyes and nice legs and stuff. And so we tied up a few of those too. Anyway. And we just did some skiing and hung out and caught up. It's been a long time since I've been up there in that country in the winter. I sure had a good time. Okay, so let's see who all's in the chat again. See, I think we mentioned Gray. Two Feathers is in. Hi, how you doing? She says rain, rain, and more rain. Yeah, you know, it's just cold and ugly and just ugly cold. It's an inversion, and it is what it is, right? I mean, we'll be in the single digits overnight and maybe 20 degrees during the day. And I got to be totally honest with you, I am sick to death of it. I want to be out of here and in Arizona for a month or so, so bad. But anyway, hey, Women Tribe, wow. Thank you for the super chat. That is very kind of you. Gyarados also sent a super chat before the stream started, but he asked a question. I'll touch on, check and see who else is in the chat here, and then we'll go over to some questions. If you have a question, be sure and submit it. Throw it in over in the chat window, and we'll try to get it answered for you. Vincent RV Live, hi from Florida. Yeah, hi from Idaho. I wish I was in Florida. I'm sure the weather's nice down there. Tim Myers is in, expecting some snow in Ohio. Eric Myers is in. Hope you're doing well, Eric. Yeah, and how about them Bengals? Woot woot, I agree with you. Yeah, they played well. You know, I don't watch a lot of football, I have to admit. I kind of watch the playoffs. I was a big baseball fan when I lived in Denver. I was only about, 10 blocks from Coors Field, where the Rockies play. And we'd go down there all the time and buy the $8 seats out in the center field up by the scoreboard, and just have a great time going to the game. I would do that at least once a week. I had friends in the building that I lived in, and we'd get together and do it. Eat Travel Happy's here. Hi, great to see you. Judy Kimbrough's in from the South. Great to have you. Oh, Richard's in tonight, but he's checking in from Tampa. Hi, hope things are well there. Yeah, Eric Myers says, I haven't tied flies in years. I need to get back into it. I do it all the time, man. It's great mental therapy. I love the creativity of it. I've made a few videos, oh gosh, maybe back in 2018 on tying flies. There's a lot of competition out there, and it's hard to beat guys like Tim Flagler and Tightline videos and those guys that, you know, they've been doing it for 10, 15 years on YouTube. And in fact, they're the guys I go to when I want to learn a pattern, is I'll go watch somebody like Tim Flagler. So anyway, if you're want to learn about fly tying, I'd go check those guys out. Tim Flagler, Tightline videos. Those guys are first class fly tyers. Tim Meyer saying his son's going to Germany soon. He's in Hawaii now. Women Tribe NFT. I am so thankful for your super chat. It says, I've been in Florida for the last 3 months, and full-timing here has kept busy away from catching the show live, but I caught you tonight. Great. I'm glad to see I am doing well. You are doing well. And we're great to have you back. You know, I totally get that things happen, and, you know, it's just the way it works. You know, it's always great to have folks here when they can make it. Okay, Rich, sorry to hear that. I kind of wondered why you were back in Florida. I didn't think you were coming back to the States for a while. But okay, yeah, sorry to hear that. KX Racers in, hi. I did do a little research on the propane hoses. We'll chat about that in a bit. Why aren't we starting? I don't get you. Okay, Rich. Okay. This is Jason Mills using my NFT account. So for now, it's Women Tribe. Perfect, Jason. I'm super happy to see you. I was kind of wondering. I hadn't seen Women Tribe before, but yeah, it's you know, I was thinking about an NFT this weekend. I was kicking that around. Oh, okay. Rich says he bought a Jeep Gladiator as a toad. Excellent. Glad to hear that. Um, okay, so let's see here. Okay, yeah, very nice. Okay, retired military. Yeah, restarted page. Now be good. Huh. I wonder what happened there. Is everybody else okay? Let me check here. Looks like everything's good.
Retired military.
Okay, I guess after last week, me crashing things in the middle. Okay, Gira shot me a question. Left it on last week's video, which is perfectly fine. You can also submit a question to me at trbolin@gmail.com. Those are always welcome, and we'll answer them the Tuesday after they come in. But he sent a question, and he wanted to know. Let me get over there to it real quick. He has a bad squeak, or he has a squeak in the rear of his RV that's driving him crazy, and I totally get that. So what I did here was I've gone out and I found an example here. Let me just pop over here real quick. Let me clean up some real estate so I got a nice clean background for you. Okay, and do this. Okay, so he was asking about squeaks, and a lot of the times what causes squeaks in any suspension are the bushings. And so if you look at this is just sort of a typical suspension here. I know you really probably can't see my mouse, can you? That's unfortunate. Okay, let's go over here and grab this. So if you look in the suspension here, these things here are bushings, okay? You don't see it here, but there is a bushing inside of that. This is a great big bushing here, okay? And all a bushing is a piece of rubber, and what it's made to do is to soften the suspension and give it, a place to wear. But the thing of it is that the bolts that goes through those can get rusty. The bushings themselves can get dirty and dry, and they'll start to squeak in the housings. Okay, so they'll start to squeak. This bushing here, if you see here kind of where I'm pointing here and by number 6, then what'll happen is that those things will get to squeaking, and they can be quite annoying. So really all you need to do is, and I always recommend this whenever you're working with rubber, all right, if you're going to be treating rubber with some kind of a spray, which I'm going to recommend here, silicone, 100% silicone. I like silicone for rubber because silicone is a part of the compound of rubber itself. And what goes into the rubber, there's silicones, there's all kinds of other things that go into it. But silicone is one of those things. And hang on just a minute here. I see it in the chat here. It sounds like are you not connected, Tim? You might need to refresh your browser because everything I think is okay. Is everybody doing good? We've got no. It looks like everybody's doing fine. Oh, Tom Downey was hung up. Huh. All right. I'll go back to this. Finish up the discussion here around the bushings. So what you want to do is you want to come in here and you want to get that silicone spray and spray it kind of down right here, okay? And then if there are other bushings like up here, any place where the rubber touches metal, spray that section, this area right here on top of that with a little bit of silicone. Also note over here in the shock absorbers, there's bushings and they can squeak, okay? So spray them with a little bit of silicone as well. And then you mentioned that you're going to the tire shops. I think this week you mentioned that you were taking it to the tire shop and brakes and get the brakes and the tires looked at. And yeah, go ahead and ask them to look at it just in case there's something else going on. There's one thing not shown on here that you might have, and that would be a torsion bar. But again, all it's going to be is a piece of metal that comes down and mounts to the axle, there's going to be a rubber bushing on it, and I want you to spray that bushing with silicone. Liquid wrench is great. You can get that at Harbor Freight. It's $4.99 a bottle or a spray can. The reason I don't like WD-40 in this application is that WD-40 contains a lot of naphtha and other petroleum solvents, which can actually damage rubber materials. WD-40 works great, and is something going on here? Have we got a problem? I don't know. It looks like. Is there a problem here? I guess I'm confused. Is the stream not showing for some folks? Can give me okay, it streams. There are 2 streamed. What is going on here? Okay, KX rates are good. No, Tim, this is not his is not an F53 chassis. He's got a Winnebago 23-foot shorty. So it's going to be more of a like a Class B, Class C. Probably, let's see, a Winnebago 23. That's probably a Class B. Itasca. No, it's an Itasca, so it's not. It's a regular Class C type rig. So I was trying to find a generic axle. So it's not an F53. Anyway, so to finish up, sorry, I got distracted there thinking there might have been a problem. So I don't like the WD-40 in the case of lubricating anything that's rubber. Now WD-40 on metal kinds of things is perfect. Okay? And I use that for, again, metal on metal. So like when I'm lubricating my key locks and those sorts of things, I'll use WD-40. All right? And anytime I'm doing rubber, so like I'll treat my rubber gaskets, all the gaskets around my slides, all the gaskets around the doors, even my windows, the window tracks, all that stuff, I use silicone on, 100% silicone. And then on metal stuff, I'll use WD-40, and that's what I would recommend. Again, I think the silicone extends the life of the rubber, and it will definitely take any squeaks out that might be in there if it's in those bushings. Now, it could be something else squeaking. It might actually be the spring squeaking on the axle. They could be squeaking in the bolts, the U-bolts, and things like that. Again, silicone would be fine. You could spray that all with silicone as well. As long as you got the silicone can, just kind of grease everything up with it. The other thing I like about silicone is it doesn't attract dust and dirt. Neither does WD-40, by the way. But again, it's nothing that I have against WD-40 in any way, shape, or form. It's just that I prefer to use silicone on rubber parts. Okay. Okay, Tom's good. Okay, Richard and those guys are having a discussion on the side. Oh yeah, my Newmar's air ride as well, obviously, because I've got the best chassis, the Freightliner. I have to say that just to tease Tom because he's got the same year, but a Spartan. Yeah, it's Fords and Chevys, right? I guess really it's like Dodges and Spartans GM, right? So it's really Ford. It's really Dodges and Chevys, or Mercedes and Chevys, or something like that. Anyway, Eat Travel Happy says it's all good. Graybird was good. Good in Alabama. All right. Okay. Okay. There. Okay. We're catching up here finally. Okay. Hi, Joshua. Great to have you in here. Jeff Ripplinger. Hi, Jeff. So happy to see you tonight. Geardot says he's good. It's a Class A Chevy. Yeah. Actually, that would be a Class C Chevy. A 23-foot is Class A. I think it has to be more than 32 feet. I think it's 32 feet and above, something like that. Interesting. So there must have been something, Tom Downey. Apparently, there was a glitch in the stream. It wasn't on my end, thankfully, for once. Not like last week when I crashed it right in the middle. So anyway, if you have a question or a comment, please leave it over in the chat window, and we'll get to it. Lola Ranch, who's a regular viewer, was in last week, and she's been having trouble with a light, trying to get it apart. And I hope Lola, she might not be in tonight, but I thought I would share this with everybody, and then hopefully Lola will catch us on the replay, and I'll also mail this to her. But let me flip back over to my other screen here real quick for you, so I can show you what she's got here. And this can be tricky to figure out. She's got these ceiling lights here, and she doesn't seem to be able to get the lens cover off. And so what you need to do, Lola, is just squeeze this lens cover high on the edge, close to the base, perpendicular across from each other. Just squeeze it gently, and then it'll pop right out. Worst case scenario, if you have to, you could take, and just a second here, you could take and like a table knife, and with a table knife you can pry gently right there. That needs to be fatter, doesn't it? And pry right there, and just gently pry in this direction, and that should get you home. That should get you back to that should get the cover off for you. All right. Guess we're transitioned back. Squeeze like popping a zit, yes. Yeah, Tom says, yeah, my new Mara is a Spartan Cummings, and I have a Freightliner Cat. Oh, you're right on. Tom has a Spartan. Yes, exactly. Hi, E Squared. Great to have you in tonight. Bob Cross, I value your opinion. Well, thank you. What is my thought about putting a generator on the back of a travel trailer? I would put it on a frame hitch if it were to add, not on the bumper. I have a 28-foot towed with F250. Yeah, that's a real common thing. What I would recommend, though, is think about your weight and balance. And what I mean by that is that on the side where you have like your fridge and that kind of stuff, which is kind of heavier, put the generator on the opposite side. All right, so what you're doing is you're moving that weight around. Keep in mind that that axle is a pivot point. It's a fulcrum. And so just like anything, the further back you get on that fulcrum, the more weight it actually puts on that axle. All right, so I wouldn't go with a big heavy generator. You probably don't need a 6 kilowatt, something like that. But if you put one of those Champion 2500, 2800, something like that, you'll be just fine. But yeah, put it on the side opposite where like the fridge and stuff is. That will help with your weight balance on the rear of that on the rear of your trailer. So yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I see it done all the time. I think it's perfectly fine. Oh, and then there's always oddball. We got Tim Myers with a Freightliner and a Cummins. There's always one of those outliers out there. Okay, Greg Graybird had a question last week, and I didn't get a picture of this, but I did investigate how that bed is mounted. And in that, hang on here, I'll get that other picture up because I think I can describe it to you. We're talking about my S&S truck camper. Gray has one. I also heard from another fellow here just this last week that has SNS. So there's a few guys coming out and joining and watching the um, camper rehab videos. Frankly, I need some good weather because I'm kind of at a point where I need to start working with stuff like glues and things like that, and it's just too cold. I need 50-degree temperatures anyway. But let me again flip back over to the other monitor here real quick to answer Gray's question. All right, Gray, if you look really carefully, let me get over here to the edit. Cancel. Oh, come on. You see right there. Let me get out of that. This board right here crosses the entire RV. The bed is screwed to this board, okay? Also, underneath right here, there is another board, 1x2, that is mounted to this wall that the framing under the bed sets on like a shelf. And I might be able to bring a picture of that up here for you. Whoops, I really want this source. I might be able to get a picture of that up for you before the end of the stream. But yeah, so essentially what it is there's a 1x4 that runs across the width of the coach, or the width of the truck camper, and then the bed is set on top of that and screwed in, and then underneath that is the 2x2s, and they sit on a shelf, a 1x2 outside, underneath. And that's how the construction is on that. I hope that helps you out. I know it's kind of sketchy. It's not really. Boy, I got kind of blue, didn't I? Oh, I know what the deal is. Hang on here. I forgot to turn on a light. Okay. So anyway, I hope that answered your question. Yeah, the shelf is a good support. I think it's probably okay. A lot of the structure and support for that is all in the sides. And in mine, all the bottom of that's rotten, so that's why it was, floating so badly. All right, so let's take a quick minute for the commercial. If you like what you're seeing, give me that thumbs up. I always appreciate those. If you're not subscribed, I'd be surprised if you're not, but if you are, please, if you're not, please do subscribe. Ring the notification bell. You can check out my website. I'm actually in the process of redesigning it. I've kind of gotten tired of the look and feel of it, so I'm going to probably within the next week and a half, I'll have a brand new website up and start adding new content again. So invite you to just run over there and check it out real quick to see the before and after. And then also your support of my Amazon store is always appreciated. There's a link in the description for this video. You'll pay the same price, but I get a small commission, and I really do appreciate that. I think that's the commercial, so thanks everybody. Let's see, I'm going to run back over to the chat. Gray says you can't see it unless you remove the skin. Correct. And yeah, when we get towards the end here, I'll go and pull up the video and I can show you exactly what the detail looks like on that gray on the underside behind the skin, so at least you'll see what's there. So don't let me forget that. Tom Downey says his Newmar Cummins gave us 8.5 miles per gallon over 2,889 miles in 5 days and used 1 quart of oil. Well, that's not bad. And in fact, in my humble opinion, I like to see an engine use just a little bit of oil. Okay? Especially like diesels. I think it's healthy for them. And you know, my cat will use a quart, yeah, every 3,000, something like that. Um, and you know, I never really thought about it. My Subaru Crosstrek uses a quart every about 6,000. And again, I think that's fine. I think it's, you know, when you start to use a gallon every 3,000 miles, that's when you need to do something. Alrighty, let's see what else we got going on here over in the chat. Oh, Gray Graybird, old joke that cockroaches holding hands keep the old building from falling down. With old truck campers, the tin skin holds it all together, pretty much. In the case of the truck camper, yeah, it's a tin skin and then a piece of 3/4 inch plywood. Um, yeah, it is a large cylinder to oil for sure. Okay, any other questions? Throw them over in the chat window. I have a couple questions for you. I've been approached by a company that does, um, oh, what do they call it? Meals. They're the 3, 6, you know, you get like the 3 months of meals, survival food. Um, and I've been approached by a company to, um, for, you know, as a sponsorship kind of a thing. And I thought I'd ask you guys tonight, is there anybody out there that watches, you know, regularly interested in that kind of stuff? You know, specifically like survival food products, that kind of stuff. Now, I'll personally say I do have a 6 month bucket already myself. I've had it for you know, quite a while, and I'm just curious if people are you know, interested in that kind of thing. If you are, go say yay. If not, you don't have to even bother to comment. I agree with you, Tom. You know, it's a uh, you know, it was a Costco impulse purchase. Enough said. You great, thanks. Yeah, not good to know. Good to know. Okay, so Geardot wants to know, explain how once inside my Amazon store we can go elsewhere and make our purchases. Once you enter into Amazon through the one of the links in any of my videos, you can go up on the search bar in Amazon and go anywhere. And if you enter through my link, I'll get credit for what you buy in that during that visit. So this happens all the time. I'll see people that want to support the channel. They'll go in and then they'll go buy like clothing or something like that. So yeah, so once you go into the Amazon store, well, we've got a minute here. I might as well do a shameless self-promotion and just basically show you what I'm doing here, what I'm talking about. Run over here to maybe not your favorite browser, but I do appreciate this one. And let me get this up here real quick. And we'll run over here. So you might go into my Amazon store for the truck camper rehab and you'll see the parts and pieces that I'm either using or considering using in my truck camper rehabilitation. So then basically all you need to do, let's say you're looking for hiking boots. And you go find your hiking boots or whatever you want. I'm just clicking around here. And if you purchase those hiking boots, I'll get credit for it. It's a very small commission. It varies anywhere from 1% to 4%. Basically is what the commission works out. And it varies by product type. It's really complicated. I don't even bother to figure it out. I just, you know, appreciate your support. But yeah, if you do that and then go anywhere on Amazon after you've clicked in and through the store, I'll get credit for what you purchased during that visit. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward really, but totally get that you don't understand it, and this is a safe zone. There are no dumb questions, just dumb answers from the host. Okay, we'll come back over here. Okay, so Richard says, reminds me of K rations. Yeah, I did. I did eat one of the meals, and they're a lot better than K rations. It was more like a mountain house meal to me. A mountain, if you've ever backpacked and you want to save weight, so we would buy the Mountain House frozen meals, and then you just reconstitute them with hot water. The beef stroganoff was, it's still one of my favorites. It's too expensive to buy and consume regularly, but yeah. So I kind of think they're a lot like that. Kind of what we're chatting about here is I've been approached to do a sponsorship with a company that does survive or does uh, those meals. What are they? It's not. It's not. Is it survival? Somebody help me out here. I'm completely drawing a blank. I guess I could go look real quick. Um, let's see. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna try to see this. Yeah, survival meals, stuff like that. But what it is they're the meals you buy 3 months for a family of four. They come in like a 5 gallon bucket and they're reconstituted with water. They're a lot like well, not so much K rations, but yeah, kind of K ration-ish. More like MREs, really, but even a better quality than the MREs. That's meals ready to eat. Okay, so we got a couple of no's and a couple of yeps. We got Mr. Samus 25 says yes. That would be interesting. K KD K KD Tice 96. Yes, it's for emergencies. Doesn't have to be steak. Just something to keep you alive and healthy until things get back to normal. I say do it. Okay, good to know. Um, Tom Downey, somewhere bent out tow bar. We ordered a new one. Oh, okay. Somewhere we bent our tow bar. I got it. Uh, it was cheaper on AZ than the show dead, the show tent. Yeah, tower tow bar. Gotcha. Hi Sam Allen. Thank you so much for your super chat. It's very kind of you. He says he has a couple of questions, but wanted to first to show my sincere appreciation for what we do and for the knowledge you share with us. Thank you. Well, thank you very much. Your super chat is very welcome. And fire away. Your questions are more than welcome, and the super chat is just an extra nice bonus, and I thank you. Greg Graybird says, yeah, go for it if it pays. We don't have to buy the stuff. Yeah, that's true. Um, yep, truckers are busy. Tim Myers. Okay, so I'll take that under consideration. It's about 50-50. Um, I'll reach out to them and see what they have to say and see how their plan works. Yeah, I thought about that Eat Travel Happy after trying their samples, because the kit that I bought, like I say, I got it at Costco. It was one of those, they had it on sale. I think it was, well, this would have been 6 years ago. Yeah, I think it was 6 years ago, and the food's supposed to be good for 10. So I figure I got 4 years, but I'll look into it, and we'll chat more about it next week. Tim Meyer says it was finally warm enough to pull the drain lanyards on the Freightliner. All air, no moisture, and the air gauge is working great with the new wiring harnesses. Yeah, Tim had to do a lot of messing around to get his air pressure gauge to work correctly. His coach, unlike mine, his coach actually has the airlines coming up to the gauges, and we decided that's probably why they cost $500, the gauges, to replace. In the case of my Freightliner, back in the electrical compartment, where the inverter and all of the signal relays, so all of the taillights, the clearance markers, all that kind of stuff, are all in rear compartment where the inverter is, as a matter of fact. But that's where the the pressure sensors are in mine, and then they're wired, up to the dash. So I don't have the only air line in the dash is just the emergency brake or the parking brake. It's really not emergency brake; it's parking brake. I should call it that. Call it correctly what it is. Okay, so let's see. Okay, Sam Allen says I've got a 2001 DSDP. Okay, and discovered that my old Xantrex Freedom 458 inverter charger was overcharging my house batteries to the point where they swelled. Dang. I replaced it with the new Xantrex Freedom SW2021. I did the same thing on mine in 2016, Sam. I went to the 3012, though, in my particular case, the 3,000 watt 12 volt. But mostly because I knew at some point I was going to be doing a residential fridge, and I just wanted a little extra overhead. And I agree with you, it was a huge improvement. But now it's time to replace the batteries. The new inverter has a profile for lithium, but wanted to know if they are basically plug and play. Any concerns for charging from the alternator while driving? No, no concerns whatsoever. You're doing exactly what I did, Sam. I have the Xantrex 3012. Our Freightliners have the Bird chassis charge switch system in it. And what that does is that it monitors the battery voltage, the chassis battery voltage. Excuse me, I'm dry and getting clogged up here. And it monitors your house batteries. And what the Bird system does is if the chassis batteries drop below 13.6 volts, it tells the alternator, it sends the alternator power to the chassis batteries. If the chassis batteries are over 13.6 volts, then it switches and it sends all the alternator power over to your house batteries. And I have the same setup with 4 lithium, Battleborn lithium, 100 amp hour batteries with the Bird auto switching charging setup. And I have absolutely had no problems whatsoever. The batteries have their own battery management system. Now, I'm saying this for Battleborn batteries. I don't know about the Lithonics or any of the others, the Lion Energies. I don't know. I don't have personal experience with them, so I'm telling you this is for the Battleborns. They have a built-in battery management system, and so they will only charge at a certain rate. They'll only charge so far. And when you have 4 batteries in that string, your alternator might be, depending upon a lot of things, but it could be anywhere from 200 to 300 amps of output. But your batteries are going to take 200 or 300 amps with no problem. They're more than capable of charging at that rate. All right. The thing about it is that your alternator will not completely charge your coach batteries, okay, if they're lithiums. You have to charge those at 14.6 volts, which, by the way, the Xantrex and the profile they have in there for lithium works perfectly on the Battleborns. I see you came back with SOK. I'll run and look at those real quick. I don't know SOK, so I might have to. Okay, they say highly reviewed, include BMS with thermal cutoff for high-low temp. Perfect. As long as that BMS also manages the charging, the battery charge rates, which it probably does. I'll go look at SOK. I might not be able to do it live, but I'll definitely do it offline. Make myself a note here so I don't forget. So anyway, yeah, that setup has been a dream. Once I put that in 2019, I dry camped 119 days, and I had 9 hours of generator time. 4 of those hours were for me exercising the generator, And then 5 of those hours were actually charging batteries. I remember I was at the Big Eddy up on the Teton River over near Driggs, Idaho. I was out there fly fishing. I'd been there for a week, and we got a really nasty rainy spell. And um, I ended up having to run the generator to bring the batteries up. But I ran my TV, my fridge, this workstation that I run on with 2 monitors, uh, you know, and I never had a problem for power, never wanted for power once with my solar. Okay, that's with my solar. I should caveat that. I also had 1860 watts of solar power, Sam. If you want, there is a video on my channel around my solar system and my battery charge controller for the solar system, which was a Victron. And, and I totally get that it's expensive to do those systems, and that's why it took me 3 years. Because the first year I did the inverter, the second year I did the batteries, the third year I did the solar panels and the charge controller. And then it was like, wow, it was like amazing. It made a huge difference. But I'll look into those SOK batteries. Uh, Amazon gave free shipping. There you go, $250 right there for sure. Yeah, 14.4 is a far. Well, sometimes you'll see a little higher than that, but it's picking nits. To fully charge lithiums, at least the Battleborns, and I'll look at the SOKs, but they want a 14.6 charging voltage to bring them up to full. 14.4, you're going to get to 95%. So good point. Sam Allen says, excellent, thank you. No solar for me. 5 kids at home, trying to provide some fun memories and have to pick and choose my upgrades as I can afford. That's exactly what I said. Yep. Yeah, but yeah, you'll be very happy with that system. The nice thing about this lithium batteries is that they charge full boat. And the 2012, I believe, has a 150 amp charger. And so you're going to be able to charge those batteries pretty quick. So you might have to run some Gen time. But I'm betting you could probably charge all 4 of those batteries in 2 hours on the Jenny. Hey, Cubby Butler. Should I say Chubby? It's good to see you in tonight. Thanks. You're very welcome. Thanks for the learnings and all the questions. Got to run. We'll finish listening later. Great. Good night. Have a great evening. And I appreciate the super chat. So there we go. Any other questions, throw them over in the chat window there. Comments, those sorts of things. Then if you'd like, I'll give you a reminder that you can submit your comments in advance or your questions in advance. trbolin@gmail.com. And that way it gives me a little bit of chance to research them. Since we don't have any other questions here, let me just run over here real quick. And let me do a real quick look on these SOK. Yeah, recommended charge voltage 14.6, maximum charge current 50 amps, max discharge 100. This might be a smaller battery. I'm assuming you're looking at like the SK12V 100s. Sam? Just looking at the specs on these. Sorry, I'm just doing some quick reading here. I think you'd be fine. I guess I do have one concern. Oh, you're fine, Sam. That's what we're here for. That's absolutely what we're here for. He's apologizing. for occupying the chat. Well, that's what this is about. This is what we're here for. If there was no other questions come in, then this is just fine. And we'll go back to the other questions anyway. So I'm reading this here. It says 14.6, max charge current 50 amps. So that has me a tad concerned. You might have to consider a DC to DC charge controller. I would recommend looking at the Victrons. Now, what a DC to DC charge controller does is it puts one more step in the string so that you don't overcharge, so you can set up to charge those batteries properly. 50 amps of max charge current is kind of low, but in reality that says if it's a 100 amp hour battery, it will take you 2 hours to charge it to full if you're giving it the full 50 amps. What I don't see is does it automatically limit the maximum charge current? So what I'm trying to understand here, and it looks like I'll probably have to do a little more research than I'm going to be able to do live in the live stream here. But if you check back next week, Sam, I'll definitely have an answer for you. But what I'm trying to understand here is that if the battery charge controller will limit the amount of charge coming into the battery, or if you have to limit it yourself. If we have to limit it ourselves, then we'll probably have to do a DC to DC charge controller. And all that does is that gives you one layer of control, because the bird system is going to send all of the available output from the alternator, short of what's required to run the chassis at that particular point in time, which is not going to be a lot, to your house batteries. That could be 100, 150 amps. And that could damage the battery. Now, see, there's all of this complexity that goes into that, because you're going to have the 4 batteries together. They're going to be on the same string. There's going to be a certain amount of amperage distributed across the batteries. It's a real complex engineering problem. But I'm going to have to understand that what the BMS will do on it. So let me research that for you, Sam. And I will have an answer for you next week. If it will automatically limit the amount of charge going to the battery, or if we have to do that. And I'll research that for you and get back to you next week. So I got you right. Okay, you're going to do 2 initially and then 2 more next year. Okay, good to know. Excellent to know. Tom Downey, went 5 days with 4 batteries with no charge. Yep, you can do it for sure. In Quartzsite, were you running your furnace, Tom? Or was it warm enough that you didn't have to run your furnace? Yeah, Tom, I would think it would too, but I don't want to give bad advice and then have Tom or have Sam end up with a dead or a burned up battery. Because if he's only doing 2 to start with, that right there says he would only be able to take 100 amps. And his alternator is going to put out more than 100 amps. He's going to see more than 100 amps at his batteries. So I'm just concerned. I want to make sure that charge controller, the BMS, clamps down how many amps can go into the battery, or if you have to limit it yourself. And we'll find out and have an answer next week. Tom says, yes, you ran the furnace. Excellent. Okay, just curious. In my experience had been that the furnace is a huge load. The fridge was really nothing when it came right down to it. I figured I needed about 60 amp hours a day to run the fridge, provided it wasn't 100 degrees outside. But in normal, 70, 75 degree temps, I needed 60 amp hours a day to run the fridge. And then the rest was all gravy. And so, like I say, I had TVs, normal microwave usage, a huge power-hungry desktop, computer that chews through the power, And yeah, I never had a power problem after I got the the inverter, the new batteries, and my solar. Uh, okay, so we'll go around one last time, reminding folks to give me that like if you so inclined. Uh, Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Support the channel through the Amazon link. Oh, by the way, the Renogy link I need to replace. They've just changed their program. I'm still a Renogy affiliate, but I'll have to update the link. I'm going to make myself a note on that. Okay. Okay, so, oh, I see. Tom says his Cummins alternator is 80 amp standard. The charger will do 30. 80, are you sure? That's awful small. The On my Freightliner, now I will say that I upgraded it, but on my Freightliner, I have a 230 amp alternator. And yeah, it cost me $600. But I had the alternator go out over in Tennessee. Oh, this back in 2013 on one of my numerous cross-country trips that year. And I actually broke down in a town where there was a rebuilder. The company that remanufactured alternators. And this is something I could change myself. I wasn't going to go to a shop. And so I just unhooked the toad and drove. I just basically parked 2 blocks away from their place and went over and was getting an alternator from him. And he said, "What's the application?" And I told him. He says, "Well, I have this one." He says, "It's $100 more and it's 50 amps more." And I said, "Yeah, I'll take it." It was definitely worth it. But okay, yeah. So let's see. Tim says his factory. It was this 160 amp factory. Yeah, 80 amps is pretty small, Tom. I would expect that to be at least 150, but maybe not. All right, Sam Allen. Question 2 was okay. I believe the caulking around the trim pieces on my O1 DSDP is wearing out. What do you recommend for resealing? There's two types of trim on the new Mars. Okay, there's the seam trim, and if it's the seam trim, that's silicone, and I would recommend Sikaflex silicone. It's expensive, but it lasts a really long time. Now, if it's not silicone, then it's going to be the butyl tape. And the butyl tape you can pick up on Amazon. You can get, I think, 50 foot of it. I've got a roll sitting right up here that just came in the other day because I'm starting to accumulate parts and pieces for the truck camper. Yeah, butyl tape, like around the windows and those sorts of things. But if it's the seam and it's, there's like those, it's like a U-looking channel. That's silicone. I recommend Sikaflex. 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 Okay, good, Tom. 30 amps will charge in about 2 hours. All right. Sam Allen, he says, I have the same Cat 3126 engine that I believe I have on mine. Mine is actually the 3126E, but it's exactly the same, except yours is mechanical and mine was electronic. But the Freightliner chassis is a 2000 model year, with the Dutch Star being sold as a 2001. Not sure on the size of the alternator. Yeah, that's typical. The chassis on mine is a 2003 Freightliner chassis. The coach was built in 2004. If they get the chassis early in the model year of the coach, you might get the chassis to match up with the coach age, but it's really not uncommon at all for for your chassis to be a year older than the coach. But yeah, the difference between the B and the E is that mine has the electronic engine control, it has the Huey fuel injection, and the 31B has mechanical control and mechanical fuel injection. But that's really the only difference. They're essentially the same engine. They both produce, well, somewhere between 300 and 330 horsepower. You're welcome, Sam. All right, it's right on 8 o'clock, and unless there's any other questions, I think we'll probably throw the towel in. Amps preheat. His 80 alt is 23 years old. That's pretty good. Gray Graybird, reaffirming that Sikaflex is great. It's pricey, yes it is, but it's worth it. Used it on the old S&S camper. The Sikaflex is pricey, but it's definitely worth it, for sure. I agree with you, Gray. All right. Any last questions? Okay. Well, everybody that gave a super chat tonight, it's just, Jason Mills, Women Tribe, and Sam Allen, and then of course Geardot. You guys, I can't say thank you enough. Your support of the channel is definitely appreciated. And with that, unless there are any other final questions, let me look at my cheat sheet here and make sure I didn't forget anything. Oh, we were going to talk about those propane hoses. Okay, really quick. What we discussed last week was about right. The reds were rated to 200,000 BTUs. The greens were good to, I think it was 150, and the black's good to 100,000 BTUs. I think those were the numbers. I didn't write it down. I just read it really quickly last week. But that's a lot of BTUs for a camper. Other than that, that's all they are. They're just bigger hoses. They deliver more gas at the same pressure. The volume of gas. All right, see you, Tom. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. I think we'll call her good for tonight. As always, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next week at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, same bat channel. But until then, have a great week, and we'll see you soon. Peace. Okay, we do have a question that popped in. You just got it in under the window there, Richard. He's wanting to install a solar charging system in a very simple way. Can I recommend a source that I could tap into to get instructions? Yes. You may go watch a video on my channel where I installed my solar. It was very simple. Solar panels and a solar charge controller, and a little bit of wire. And that's all there is to it. There's some engineering, some thought that has to go into the numbers behind that. And Rich, we'll hang here for just a minute. If you want to throw those numbers out, I can try to help you out. We'll say goodnight to all the regular viewers. Good night, Rich. Hope things work out for you there in Florida. And Tim, thanks, buddy. We'll see you next week, and hope to hear from you soon. But yeah, Rich, if you could throw some numbers at me. Otherwise, there is a video on my channel where I'm installing solar panels and my solar charge controller. Quite a simple system. There's really not much to it. If you'd like, you could send me an email at trbolin@gmail.com and tell me what you're trying to do, and I can definitely help you out, and I'm happy to do that. No charge. I have quite a bit of experience with the solar side of things, on the electrical side of things, so I would be happy to do that. But yeah, if you go watch the video on my channel where I'm installing the solar, that should get you started. And any other questions, you're more than welcome to come in next week, every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, and we'd be happy to chat with you further about it. So thanks anyway, and we'll see you guys all real soon. Good night.